Hey, this is Russ. Now you might be wondering what happened to Tuesday's video. Yeah, too many things were going on for the weekend, and by the time I was ready to do it, it was too late. So this video is going to come out on Thursday instead. I'm actually recording this on Tuesday, but since we don't typically put a video out on Wednesday, I figured, well, we've already missed Tuesday, let's just go for Thursday. So during that time, I got a message from somebody on one of our videos, and he asked me a question that was a little bit hard to answer, typing it all out, that is. So I figured I'll just do it on a video. Why not? He had a good question. I figured that other people could benefit from this too. So let me read you what he sent me, okay? So he sent me, he says, "Hi Russ, I'm interested in purchasing an e-bike for the first time. I don't know the rules and regulations with the electric bicycle. Wanted one for trail riding like you are doing. I just don't know where to start and what types of electric bikes to buy. I have a road bike and a hardtail mountain bike to go around my local area, and I'm looking to get into electric bikes to cover more range." So I responded back to him saying, "There's too many variables to cover quickly. Can you tell me your physical ability, your age, how far you plan to ride, etc.? Maybe I can answer that on the next upcoming video." So he responded back and said, "I'm an experienced biker that does road biking and trail biking. I'm in my 30s and wanted a bike in long distance bike trails. I can usually cover around 12 to 15 miles per trip." Believe me, when you get an e-bike, you're going to go farther than that, right? "I want an electric bike so I can cover more distance and explore more areas as I take photos and videos with my drone." Okay, so I said I would make a video and release it on Thursday. So let me answer his question, and I'm sure I'm going to miss a number of good points. Maybe you guys can jump in and give him some pointers as well. Okay, so again, just the top of my head. It's not something I wrote out or anything like that. But let me see if I can try to answer this. And the reason I thought this was a good question is because I'm sure others have the same thing with the first time they go out and buy an e-bike. They're really not sure of regulations and things like that. So let's cover some basics, and then you guys can fill in the details that I miss, okay? So let's first cover the various classification of e-bikes. There's Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 e-bikes. Now, many of the trails that we find will allow Class 1 and Class 2. Many do not allow Class 3, okay? Just so that you know. Not that people don't do the trails even though they have Class 3, but you're asking for the actual regulations. And let me say this first. Check with your local area because regulations change per area, all right? So I'm just telling you what I know and what my area allows and does not allow. So here's what they say Class 1 bikes are. Class 1 bikes are kind of similar to my Magicycle commuter bike. If you take a look at this bike, you can't even tell it's really an e-bike because it kind of looks like a standard road bike. It doesn't really, it's not a real heavy bike. It has a 1.25 inch wide tire. These are 26-inch tires. Some of the commuter bikes out there are 27-inch tires. This one actually might be 27-inch too, now that I think about it. I have to double check. But anyways, the whole point is these are very thin tires, and the motors are smaller, and they don't have throttles and things like that. So Class 1 basically means it's motor assisted up to 20 miles per hour, and it does not have a throttle on it. So you have to pedal if you want to move, all right? This particular bike happens to be a belt-driven bike, and there are no gears. It's a single-speed belt-driven bike. Now, there are other commuter bike styles that are multiple speeds. There's a derailleur there, so you can maybe get 7 or 8 speeds out of it, and maybe chain-driven. But this particular one happens to be belt-driven, single-speed, okay? But the key for Class 1 means that you have a bike that does not have a throttle. You have to pedal to move it. But the motor will help you move the bike along, so it's a lot easier to ride, okay? Class 2, all right? Class 2 is similar to Class 1. It has a maximum of 20 miles per hour speed limit, but there's a throttle. So if you don't feel like pedaling, you can use the throttle, whether it's a twist throttle or a thumb throttle, to help move the bike for you. So if you don't want to pedal, you can just throttle it, right? So, but the throttle will not exceed 20 miles per hour, and pedaling will not exceed 20 miles per hour. That's the legal limit, okay? Having said that, there's also a class 3. Now class 3 will pedal up to 28 miles per hour. If you push hard enough, the bike will go up to 28 miles per hour with a pedal assist and with the motor running. Okay, but there is no throttle past 20 miles per hour. Now a lot of people mistakenly think class 3 bikes have no throttle. That's not true. Okay, some bikes may be like that, but most class 3 classification means if there is a throttle, it will help you up to 20 miles per hour, and then the throttle will stop helping you, all right? But if you keep pedaling, you can go up to 28 miles per hour, okay? Now, like I said, not all trails allow class 3 bikes. You should check your local area to find out if they allow it or they don't. Now, having said all that, there are bikes that go beyond 28 miles per hour, all right? Now, it's not that these are illegal bikes, because a lot of people said that these are illegal. They're not illegal, but you can't ride those bikes on open areas that we normally would. Like for instance, maybe your bike does 35 or 40 miles per hour, right? There's some bikes that will do that. The Suron and things like that come to mind, all right? Those type of bikes. But you can't ride that on legally on any trail because it goes way too fast. And anybody get caught with something like that riding a trail probably will be stopped, all right? So now, having said that, I do have many class 3 e-bikes in my arsenal of bikes. And do I take them on trails and like they're class 2? Yeah, I do, all right? But I don't exceed 20 miles per hour. And many of the trails, too, require that you go only up to 15 miles per hour. Now, having said all this, I'm talking about the United States. I know that our friends in the UK, their limits are like 15 miles per hour, okay? So it depends on where you are, will determine how fast you can and can't go, all right? All right, so you have classifications of bikes to look at. Now, there's different styles of e-bikes. There's fat tire bikes, and then there's not fat tire bikes. Fat tire bikes, we're usually talking about 3-inch to 4-inch wide tires, some even larger than that, okay? Many of my bikes are 4-inch fat tire bikes. It's a bike that I prefer because this way I can ride on the street if I want. I can jump right onto a trail. I can ride it. I can ride on gravel if I want. I can pretty much ride on almost any type of terrain and not worry that my tires are too small to go on it. All right. But there's a drawback to 4-inch fat tires too. There's a huge rolling resistance. For instance, if I rode the Magicycle commuter bike and the battery were to die on me and I had to manually pedal that bike home, I can probably do it, all right, because it's got a thin 1.25-inch tire. The rolling resistance is minimal. I could actually ride that without the motor, okay? But if you gave me one of my fat tire bikes and said, okay, you've got 2 more miles to get home, your battery is dead, I probably will call somebody and say, come pick me up, because I don't have the energy and the strength to ride 2 miles or so with that bike without the battery running the motor. So these bikes are large and huge and heavy, right? Most of the fat tire bikes, I would say, are at least 69 pounds or higher. I have a bike that is as much as 93 pounds, right? And that is a softail bike where there's a suspension in the back and a suspension in front. Now, talking about that, you have bikes that have suspension and some that do not. Many will have suspension in the front fork, but they don't have rear suspension. But others will have rear suspension and front suspension. And as you probably know, that this is designed so it kind of picks up the shock. So if you run over bumpy roads and hop off a curb or something, the shocks will kind of help you. So the suspension is basically some type of shock absorber type of design. Some of the rear suspensions are spring suspensions. Other are things like hydraulic suspensions or some type of ear suspension. Okay, so take a look at your type of suspensions. Some are now even coming with front hydraulic suspensions, and some are just spring type suspensions in the front. So obviously things like the hydraulic suspensions are going to be a little bit better, but it'll cost you a little bit more. Now, as far as brakes are concerned, you might want to take a look at that. Some of them come with mechanical disc brakes. Others come with hydraulic disc brakes. There's a tendency now to replace many of the bikes that used to come with mechanical to hydraulic disc brakes. Now, in the past, the hydraulic disc brake bikes were always more expensive by a couple $100s. We're finding now that some of the new bikes come with the hydraulic brake. Did I say suspension? Some of them come with hydraulic brakes. Others come with standard disc brakes. Hydraulic brakes are better. It's a hydraulic mineral oil fluid that goes through the line. So when you press it, you get a very fast and hard stop. Okay, so the mechanical ones, they still use the cable, like a cabled non-electric bike would have. They might have a cable that goes down the line. Those are harder to pull and they are harder to stop. So in my opinion today, if you're riding an e-bike, you want a hydraulic brake on there. Okay, not to say that the mechanical ones won't work. They will, but they don't stop as fast as hydraulic brakes, and it takes a lot more pull on your hand, on the handbrake, to stop that bike. So I suggest hydraulic brakes if you can get them. The most popular hydraulic brakes are probably the Tektro branded brakes, but we see a lot of others will use Zoom brakes. Some will use what is the other brands? Now I'm drawing a blank. This is what happens when you get old. There are other brands. Okay, we'll just leave it at that, and then you can find it. But the Tektro is probably the more expensive of them all, and they are pretty good. There's also 2-piston and 4-piston hydraulic brakes. I have some bikes that have 4. Many of the others have 2. All right, as you know, the 4 will also cost a little bit more. I'm looking at bikes off to the side just to kind of remember. Now you do have pedal assist, and some of the bikes will give you 5 levels of pedal assist. Others will allow you to vary that, so you can actually change it to 7 or 9 levels of pedal assist. That doesn't mean it's going to give you more. All it means is that going from one level to the next is a smaller amount of increase when the assist happens. Many of my bikes I now put on 9 levels of pedal assist because I like that small incremental increase. Others, if you put it on 5, when you move from one to the next level assist, you might find it jumps it quite a bit of more help than you might want. So in between things, like a 7 or a 9 level gives you incremental steps that are a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to work with. Okay. Now, people have asked me too about whether the bikes are too heavy. Now, for some people, the bikes are very heavy, and for others, it doesn't really matter too much to them. I'm used to using any of the size bikes at this point. Like I said, my heaviest bike is 93 pounds, but I do have bikes that are down to 43 pounds. I have another bike coming in I think it's going to be around 36 pounds. That's an e-bike. Keep tuned for that. That eventually will be coming here, as long as they send it to me. So, what else can I tell you? Step over and step through designs. Okay, let me talk about that. If you look at bikes in the past, we would call step over designs boys' bikes or men's bikes, and step through designs as women's bikes or girls' bikes. They don't use that distinction anymore. Pretty much anyone can ride a step over or a step through bike today. All right. But many of the older riders prefer step through designs so that they don't have to swing their leg over the top. And you know what I mean. When you have a saddle that's adjusted high enough so you have very big extension in your leg, it takes a little bit of effort to swing your leg over the top of that. Okay. So as you get older, many people feel that the step through design is easier for them. Now, he is in his 30s. He probably has no problem. He can pick whichever one he wants. All right. But for me personally, I don't mind either one. I kind of like the step over designs, quite frankly, because when I stop at a stop sign or a stoplight and I hop off the bike while I'm waiting, my legs hold the bike up because there's a bar there that my legs are straddling, and that holds my bike up. If I have a step through design, I have to hold on to the handlebar when I jump off the bike, because if I don't, then the bike is going to fall over. It's going to slide to the side on left or right, and it's going to fall. Okay, so there's benefits of step over and step through designs. Depends on whether you have a physical inability to ride a step over easily, then you might want to buy a step through design. Okay, don't worry about the fact that it's boys' bikes or girls' bikes anymore, because that's not the case anymore. You'll find a lot of guys ride step over or step through designs today. Okay, I have both. So All right, what else? Let me look. Oh, you might want to change your saddle out. Many people know this, and if you're an experienced rider, you'll realize that many of the saddles that are included with the bikes aren't the greatest. All right, I think they give us basic saddles because they know people will change it out to whichever things feel best to them. And if they give you an expensive, nice saddle and you don't like it, then you've paid for something that you really may not want. So I think a lot of the companies give you basic saddles and kind of think that you're probably going to change it anyway. Which is fine. It's not a big deal. Okay, let's talk about accessories real quickly. I'm going to stop the video real quickly and then start it back up. My camera usually does automatically stop past a certain amount of time. So I'm just going to stop it now and start it back up. Sit tight for a second. Okay, I'm back. You probably didn't even notice any difference. All right, let me talk about real quickly about some accessories. Now, the handlebars on e-bikes, they are kind of packed with stuff. I mean, you've got, let me look here. You've got handbrakes, you got throttles, you got gear shifters, derailleur shifters. You've got on-off switches, pedal assist switches. You have a bell maybe. Sometimes you put on things like rear view mirrors. There's not a whole lot of real estate on that handlebar anymore. So many people buy what they call a handlebar extender. Just another piece that goes in front of the handlebar, and then you can put accessories. Now, many of the bikes do include front headlights and rear tail lights. Not all bikes have rear tail lights that light up when you pull the handlebar or handbrakes. Okay, so double check to see if they include that or they don't. So it's okay if it doesn't, but it's nice that if it does. If you pull the handbrake, it lights up brighter. That'd be nicer, right? Many of us also put cell phone mounts on the handlebars. So I would recommend you get one because, a lot of us use GPS navigation off of our phone. So you need something to hold that. You don't want to hold the hand, you don't want to hand hold a cell phone like this while you're riding, okay? Get a cell phone mount. And I highly recommend everyone get an air compressor for their bike tires. Now, a lot of people get hand pumps, but if you got a big fat tire, you'll be pumping a long time. I'm telling you right now. Get yourself an air compressor. These things are not that expensive, usually under $50. I have a link inside the description of all my videos. And by the way, too, let me mention too, some of you may have noticed as of the last video I published, there is now a russisright.blogspot.com site. Okay, there is a russisright.com site. If you go there, it's going to tell you to go to the blogspot site. Okay, and the reason I did this is because the only thing I need to put down on a website is the list of accessories that I use and the affiliate links that are available to you to save you some money. And it also helps me if you use the affiliate links. So to host the site costs X amount of money per month, but the Blogspot site is free. So I use the site that's given to me because I own the domain name russisright.com. And I just use that and I just tell you, hey, go to the other site because it's free. I can put as much stuff on there as I want. And then I have links on there for you too. So either do it off of the description of the videos, or there will be a link in the description say, click here to see the blogspot.com site, where you can actually see the list a little bit easier. Okay, so give it a try if you haven't done it before, okay? And I appreciate it if you use any of those affiliate links because it does help my channel when you do that, all right? All right, that's a little advertising for me. All right, so what else do they have? Some of the hand grips are lockable hand grips. Others are not. The lockable ones don't spin in your hand when you grab hard, okay? So I like the lockable style, and if you don't have one, you could always replace the hand grips with lockable hand grips. But many of them come with pretty decent ones, but some of them kind of spin a little bit. Like I know there's a lot of faux leather type style hand grips, which I kind of like, but again, some of them, they rotate when you're riding, so that's not so good. You can buy lockable versions of those hand grips. I'll put a couple in the blogspot.com one. So it's russisright.blogspot.com. Again, the description has the links, okay? Let's talk about battery real quick too. You're gonna probably want batteries that are a little bit larger so that you can get a little more range. Like I mentioned, a lot of times when we ride, you mentioned, I think, what was it, 12 to 15 miles? If you have an e-bike, you're going to go farther, and I think you already know that because you mentioned it. the bikes in the past were 48-volt batteries that had 14 amp hours, okay? The more amp hours you have, the more range you get. So today, many of the bikes actually offer 20 amp hour batteries. Now, when this happens, you have a fatter down tube because the batteries are larger, and but you're going to get a lot more range with that. And the range that they mention from manufacturers usually don't match the reality of what range you actually get in mileage, right? Because I've seen bikes that say 60 to 80 miles range. Realistically, you're lucky to get 24 to 30, all right? So this all depends on your weight, your riding terrain, how you ride, the style that you ride, whether you have hills, whether you don't have hills. All this affects your range. Now, I tend to be a pretty heavy rider, right? I weigh more than most people. I'm older. I use the throttle more. In fact, if you use the throttle more often, you're going to eat into your range. So if you want more range, pedal, all right? And if you keep your pedal assist anywhere between 1, 2, and 3, you'll get more range. You start hitting 4 and 5, you're going to eat your range up because you're using more battery to get that help. And if you use your throttle at all, you're going to eat up your range, right? Many of the manufacturers for me have been giving me secondary batteries so I can go farther and do better videos for you guys. Not all of them do it, but those that do, they realize that they get a little bit more videos out of me because I ride my bikes. I don't just do reviews and that's it. I review the bikes and I use them and I ride them. Okay, and those who have given me second batteries, I usually take those bikes first because I need to get out farther. I too, like you, want to go farther than the 12 to 15 miles that you mentioned. So the range is critical for me. Now, let me talk about range real quick too. Some people say, well, where I want to go is 12 miles away, I'll make it. Yeah, you'll make it there, but can you make it back? That's the question, right? Like for instance, there's one location I go to. It's about 30 miles to get there, okay? Well, that means there's 30 miles to get back home too, all right? So I need at least 60 miles of range, which I cannot get on a 20 amp hour battery, and absolutely no way I can get it on a 14 amp hour battery, all right? This is why many times I'll ask the manufacturers, can you give me a second battery? Because that gets me out farther and I can ride longer and do longer videos and do better videos. So many have done it, not all have done that, all right? So if you find that you need more range, the option is to buy a secondary battery. Now the second batteries will cost you probably anywhere from say $400 to $600 typically. I usually strap it to the rear rack. What I do is I put them inside a fireproof bag. One of the manufacturers we use is Magicycle. They sell a fireproof bag. You can buy the bag, put it in there, and what I do is the packing foam that comes with your bike is usually very high density quality packing foam. I cut it to size and I put that as a shock absorber underneath the battery before I mount it to the rear rack. And I usually bungee cord the battery to the rear rack. So I secure it really safe so the battery can't fall out or anything. But I put some type of padding underneath the battery so any type of bumps kind of absorbs it before it gets to the battery. All right. So if you have a second battery, you can always swap out the battery. When one exhausts, you can put another one in there. You get more range. All right. Now this adds to the cost of the bike, but I feel that if you have that second battery, you're gonna enjoy the bike a little bit better. So some of the companies now offer bikes with second battery options, and some of them will just sell you a second battery, but then you have to strap it to the bike. The other bikes will have two batteries that actually mount on the bike itself, all right? So when one exhausts, the other one takes over, or some of them will do where both batteries run at the same time and exhaust at the same time. All right, there's advantages to that, but there's some disadvantages as well too. But too much to get into at this point. I do have a bike that's coming in that I've requested 3 batteries. All right, still waiting for that bike. All right, it's still taking some time. It's being customized for me, so we'll see if it comes in time. As you know, I'll be doing some trips very shortly, and so if that bike doesn't come in within a couple weeks, I'm gonna have to tell them hold on to it because I won't be around to be able to accept it. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Okay. What else I need to tell you? Some of the bikes do a thing called ghost pedaling. All right. So what this means is, let's say you go to the faster speeds. You're pedaling and you're using pedal assist 4 or 5 out of 5. You may find that as you pedal, you feel no resistance. You're going so fast that you can't pedal to keep up. Okay. yet the bike keeps moving forward. That's called ghost pedaling, where you don't feel the resistance, but you can definitely get the speed. Now, there's two different types of sensors for sensing how you're pedaling. Okay, there's a thing called cadence sensors, and then there's another one called torque sensor. All right, the torque sensor means, like for instance, if you put your pedal assist at level 5, the minute you start pedaling on a cadence sensor, no matter if you pedal very softly or very hard, that thing is going to take off really fast. Okay, it's got a lot of assist automatically. It doesn't care how hard you push down on the pedals. It gives you the maximum speed that it can do. A torque sensor is a little different. Let's say you are on pedal assist level 5 out of 5, and you pedal very softly, that bike's going to go really slow. Okay, when you start pedaling a little bit harder, it's going to go faster. Okay, so it senses how much you push on that pedal, and it gives you the assistance based on how hard you push. So if you want to go as fast as 20, 28 miles an hour, whatever, pedal harder. Okay, the harder you pedal, the more the assistance of the motor will give you. But if you don't pedal hard enough, it'll be very small amount of assistance. So in other words, it feels more like a regular bike. Okay, if you have a cadence sensor, no matter how you pedal, softly or hard, whatever the pedal assist level is at, it's going to give you the maximum assist at that point. So let's say I'm on pedal assist level 3 and I move my feet this slow. Okay, it's moving this slow. You're probably going to still do 15 to 18 miles an hour, right? Because it doesn't matter. As long as the pedals are moving, it says, hey, he's putting some pedal effort. You need to assist it, and it's going to assist you to the maximum level of that assist level. Okay. So many people like the torque sensors and others don't. Like for instance, for me, I have a replaced knee, and so I can't pedal as hard as many other people can pedal. So my pedaling tends to be softer, and so if I have a cadence sensor, I can go just as fast as the guy that has a torque sensor, but I don't have to put as much effort in. Others want the additional exercise, and so a torque sensor might be a better choice. One more thing, and then I'll let you go, all right? There's different types of motors. There's a hub motor, and then there's a mid-drive motor. Hub motors are on probably most of the e-bikes today, but there are mid-drive motors which cost a little bit more money. Now, the whole point is that the mid-drive motor, the motor is right in the center, right where your pedals are, where the crank is in that area. The hub motors, the motor is usually on the rear wheel. Okay, the hub motors are less expensive. The mid-drive motors are more expensive. The mid-drive motors have more torque, so you can get up over a hill better. Okay. Now, having said that, there are hub motors that have higher torque than other hub motors. So if you take a look at the torque settings, some might have like 86 newton meters of torque or 92 or 93 newton meters of torque. The higher the number, the more assist in terms of ease to be able to get up over a hill. So if your torque is only like 45 and another bike is like 86, obviously the 86 torque is going to give you a lot more assist and ease to get up over a hill. So check out what type of terrain you're riding on and whether you need that much additional assist or whether a smaller amount will suffice. Okay, one more thing. Wattage. Okay, the legal limit for e-bike wattage is 750 watts. Now that doesn't mean that they don't have ones that do 2,000 watts, because they do. Okay, but that's usually a peak power. The higher the wattage, the more it eats up your battery, but the more power it has. So it'll either give you more speed or more ability to climb a hill. All right. So here's the thing with power. Some will claim 750 watts, but they may actually be a 500 watt motor that peaks at 750. Others claim 750 watts, but it may be 750 watts that you use, but then when you really push it, it might peak at 1200 watts or whatever. Okay. So there's a peak power and a nominal power. Okay, the nominal settings that are legal limits are typically 750 watts. I don't know whether you're not to exceed 750 even on a peak. My gut feeling is probably that's what the law states, is they don't want you really to exceed 750, but many of the bikes do. Okay, but at least if you buy a bike that said 750 watts, class 2, and it holds to that, then at least by the letter of the law, you probably will be safe. All right. All right, that's all I really want to say today. There's a ton more stuff to cover. Oh, there's 20-inch wheel bikes and 26-inch wheel bikes on average. Some are 27-inch, but the 27 inches tend to be commuter-style bikes, which are kind of like the road bikes. All right, that's all I'm going to say for today. It's pretty long already. The rest of you guys, if you have other things you want to throw in there to let him know, put your 2 cents in, put it in the comments. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Check out the new accessories list. Again, right now, as you see it, it is pretty much the same as what you see in the description of the videos, but I'll be adding more to that as we get along. So go in the description, check it out, click the link. Take a look at the blog spots. You could look at russisright.com as well. You see a picture of me. That's about it. Tells you to go to the other sites. But the list will be listed on that blog spot. Okay. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching along. I'll talk to you guys next time.